Wing Chun is a system of threes built on triangles. The triangles of Wing Chun include triangles in the feet, they include triangles of our structure, but there's also triangles that are in between us and another person. The first triangle I want you to be aware of is the triangle of the shoulders and the hips. Actually, this makes more of a pyramid, right? Where you have this as your base, like the base, the foundation, and then you have this as your triangle coming from here, but there's also that triangle also coming from the hips too. So it's a framework that has that actually kind of has this this here just like this, and it comes off of this way and it also comes up this way, coming to a point. That point deflects. It deflects from the top, or it also deflects from the bottom. So these deflections, this structure, the triangle is a very, very strong structure, arguably one of the strongest structures in the world. The pyramids were built upon triangles. So you see it there. Now you also see it other places too. If you look from the side, you can see a triangle based on where the elbow is here from where it's coming from this way too. You can also see triangles based on the legs, okay? The Gigi Kimyang is based on a triangle, several triangles, right? One triangle is down on the ground. If you look straight down, your toes point in to create a triangle. Then you'll see another triangle here coming up, and then you see another triangle here, and then if you look at it, you can see that triangle that you made on the floor. The point of that can then have a triangle coming up from this side, and can then have several others. More triangles include the connections between then the ground and up. Okay? Then you have other connections here, triangles. Then you also have connections in between you and your opponent, right? So if you look at where you're going, this is called the central plane in between you and your opponent. As you divide that central plane up, you can divide it on the side, and there's little triangles coming from this way and that way. There are a lot of triangles. Now let's take a look at the footwork. Footwork is also triangle based. From this spot, we come around and in. If we look at where we came from, that is a triangle. Okay? This is called the Hyunbo or Sogurt, and it brings your foot in. It works to either sweep a leg or to just simply get around and come from a one point to another one point. That's what this move does. But it's a simple triangle. We also move often in diagonal ways. Well, if you look at the diagonal ways, they actually make another triangle if you step and then come in. These are also triangles, right? Boom, boom. And then within the body, we can divide these triangles into even more ways than just that. We can look at the lower dantian, and we could take the lower dantian down to our foot, right? And then bring it back up and bring it down to this foot. You can see the triangle all the way down from the ground to that. And then from this, bring it up here and divide it all the way down here. But these are not the only. There's plenty more. But I want you to understand that this is what Wing Chun is really, the shape of Wing Chun is all about, this system of threes and 3 points, creating something that has a goal, but also has a base to it as well, which then deflects energy from there and makes something very, very strong in its origin, but makes something very, very precise in its target or where it's headed. And as I know these, I can trust in the geometry of Wing Chun. And that's a big key. When people start Wing Chun, even for several years, the act of trusting in the geometry of the triangle is a big part of what we do as practitioners. And as you go further along, it's called learning to trust in your structure, or learning to trust in position. The key is always position. Position is the #1 thing that we do, and because of that position, then we can use the geometry of the triangle to our favor, as opposed to trying to solve things in a manner of overpowering or speeding up in order to try to handle things. We try to get out of the ideas of using over force or too much power, or just even thinking about power initially. Getting out of that mindset of power or speed mindset will really, really help you to trust in the geometry of Wing Chun, in the triangles, in what really makes Wing Chun, what makes you be able to take someone else's force and deflect it, because you understand the base of these things, the origins of what you're trying to do, the foundations and the strength. So therefore you can go towards the precision, and that creates it all, okay? So within the triangle, any triangle, there is a base, there is a strength, there's a strong, solid point that doesn't really move. But then towards its apex, or basically where that triangle is headed, is a target, and it's very precise. It's 1 point. This is another yin and yang of Wing Chun right within a triangle. Let's take, for instance, the shoulders. In Sun Im Tao, you want to solidify those shoulders. This is why when we do Sun Im Tao, we don't move around those shoulders much. We want to solidify them. Other martial arts don't think this way because they're not using the triangle shape in the same way. We want to solidify this and solidify this. So this is your first physical harmony in Wing Chun, is your shoulders and your hips. Keep them solid. When you go through your movements in Sun Im Tao, when you go through all these different things, when you practice your chain punches, whatever you're doing, don't move them. Learn how to solidify and stabilize those shoulders and the hips. Learn that first. Then that goes together, it connects down into the legs as well, the feet. Those are also solid until we then start to move them, right? Then we move into Chun Kung, where we start to move these things and reposition our geometry every time, moving from a position, a shape, a triangular shape, to another triangular shape, to another triangular shape. So Wing Chun is moving from position to position. Each of these positions are very, very strong because of the triangle, because of the strength of the base of it, coupled with the intention and the precision of where we're headed. Basically, that is to their center line. And that's the apex of really where things are headed. So understanding all of this is key to your development in Wing Chun. And like I say, trusting, here's the hardest thing. Emotionally trusting in the triangle to do the job is very, very difficult for every single one of us in the beginning as we learn. That's one of the main purposes of doing this for longer terms. That's why you can't just do Wing Chun for a few months and expect it to work, because you're not going to trust in the triangular geometry of Wing Chun to do this. What you're gonna do is you're not gonna, well, first of all, you can't trust in it when you don't know it well enough. So you must know what these specific shapes are for. The wooden dummy is a great place to feel your shapes. Now granted, you can't deflect the other person's force off the wooden dummy, but it's a wonderful, wonderful place for you to feel the solidity of your own, of the base of that triangle, right? Let's take this. Like I said, you can slice this many ways, but just for simplicity's sake, the base of the triangle is the shoulders and the hips, right? As it goes on in. And as you're practicing the dummy, try your best to be as precise as you can to the apex of where you're headed, which is basically the center. So for the wooden dummy, it's going to be right that center line of the trunk of the jong of the wooden dummy, okay? So think of that, even as you're in pivoted stances, whether you're pivoting on an axis or you're pivoting appendicular, you know, different types or different lines or different lineages or even different ranges practice different types of pivots. Regardless, keep your triangle as much as you can, okay? This is when you get, when you're in close, okay? The traditional range of Wing Chun is a triangle, okay? So on that wooden dummy, you're really working on that. I do want to make a point. When I also practice a longer range approach to Wing Chun as well as the traditional range and closer in. When you take Wing Chun to a longer range than the traditional range, it's going to take on different shapes. So you're not going to see the triangle. So I say, you know, the saying, think outside the box. I like to say, well, think outside the triangle. When you take it further away than you have this base, you're then going to have to take on another shape, right? So that shape we can call different things. Sometimes we call it an arc. We call it a trapezoidal shape. That's something else for longer bridge, for outside of this range. Okay, so that's something else. All right, so please don't get confused. This can be confusing, especially when you see me do longer bridge or longer range practices in some of my videos. So try to understand the difference between the two. But for the most part, in the traditional range of Wing Chun, that is all triangle based, and don't think that it's not. Okay. On the wooden dummy, every single move that you're doing has a triangle in it. There's a base to it, there's a solidification to it, and for simplicity's sake, because there's so many triangles within the body and also within the interaction between you and the central line of the other person, there's so many triangles, I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible so you can appreciate one of the most important triangles, and that is the base of the shoulders and the hips to where you're headed. Every single move on the wooden dummy has that. And if you can understand some of this and understand where that is, just take a position, any position. Maybe it's a pivoted position, okay? Maybe you're pulling and you're palming, okay? Well, try your best to get your base pointed directly as much as possible to the center line of the wooden dummy, and then you can see where you're headed. That is your apex, where you're going into, what you're looking to occupy. And that's what we want to do. We want to occupy their center. How do we want to occupy their center? Through the power of the triangle, occupation of that center, and constantly then moving. The beautiful thing about the wooden dummy is it helps you to feel those positions of power, and each of those positions of power are triangles, each and every one of them. Understanding this will help you to say, okay, well, and now the wooden dummy not only teaches me position, it also teaches me how to get from position to position through footwork and and handwork, efficiency. So, man, there's a lot in that wooden dummy that can help you to appreciate these triangles and going from position to position to position. What this does, as you practice the wooden dummy over and over and over, it gets these positions into your muscle memory. And they do come out for you when you are chi-saoing or sparring or whatever you call it. When you are actively integrating this effort against pressure, pressure. So we have the 3 types of training in Wing Chun. We have our solo training, where we're just going self to in the air, right? That's very important to understand. That's very important to feel. And then the second type of training is your wooden dummy, where you're it's you and the object. You're trying to feel the feedback off of this object, right? And that's the second level. And then the third level is then you to someone else's energy and shapes, right? So that's the third level. And it is the hardest level. It is, obviously. So that's why a lot of people, they've been doing their forms. Maybe they even do their dummy, and they're trying to put that into integration. Well, that's the highest level. It's the hardest part. So you'll find people in the very beginning say, "Man, I'm doing this stuff, but it's not translating into my sparring or my chi-sao or whatever." Well, it's going to take some time. You need to get it into your muscle memory. And then your mindset has to be, okay, can I bring my Sunim Tao, my Chum Q, my Bill G, my wooden dummy, can I bring this into my sparring? It can't be a separate thing. It's all leading to sparring. So when you do things, you're not just doing them for reps. You're doing it for muscle memory, and you're thinking of going to their center the whole time. So that's when you integrate it into your sparring. Man, lots of information here. And I've gone off, just like I do, I've gone off in different segments. But this stuff is so exciting. It is so exciting, and there's so much to uncover here. So I'll keep on bringing you as much as I can, because this is a big passion for me, and I want you to understand the depth of this, and it is infinite. The depths are infinite. So very excited to have you. I'm Adam Willis. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so now. Thank you so much. Introducing my Wing Chun distance learning program at wingchunlessons.com. Designed to help those with a sincere interest to learn Wing Chun at home. Not everyone has access to a Wing Chun school or local instructor where they live. This Wing Chun home training program also gives you a chance to become certified and recognized under the Dragon Institute ranking system, which is a necessary first step for those who wish to become certified Wing Chun instructors. Read more at wingchunlessons.com.